Hello. In this video, we will discuss about Mahadashas and especially Shani Mahadasha. And the purpose of these videos is to make sure we go into the basics and see what the ancient sages have written or mentioned about Vedic astrology, so that we do not get confused by certain astrologers out there who mix Vedic astrology with Western and come up with their own mixed version. So today we will be talking about the Mahadasha of Shani or Saturn as per the great sage Parashara, or Maharishi Parashara as he is referred to. So what does sage Parashara say about the Mahadasha of Shani or Saturn? And we've already discussed about what a Mahadasha is based on the Vimshottari system. And of course, we know there are different systems, but we've been following the Vimshottari system, which is most commonly used and it's more accurate. And now we'll be talking about the Mahadasha of Shani, which is the main period. And of course, there are sub-periods and sub-sub-periods. But today we will be talking about the Mahadasha, or the main period of Shani. If Shani comes in somebody's life as a Mahadasha, or the main period, and what has Sage Parashara mentioned about that? Now, as per the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, which is a compilation of Sage Parashara's teachings, there will be good effects felt during the Mahadasha or main period of Saturn or Shani in case Shani is exalted. And we've already discussed that Shani or Saturn gets exalted in the sign of Libra. So in a chart, when you see Saturn is exalted and there is a main period of Saturn or Shani, Sage Parashara says that there will be excellent results which will be felt. Sage Parashara also says that in case Saturn is in its own Rashi or zodiac sign, and the two zodiac signs which are represented by Saturn, as we know, are Capricorn and Aquarius. So there also Saturn is happy and will give good results during the Mahadasha of Saturn or Shani. Or if Saturn or Shani is in Mula Trikona sign, and we've discussed about Mula Trikona signs in our earlier videos. And the Mula Trikona sign for Saturn is Aquarius. Out of the two zodiac signs it rules over, which is Capricorn and Aquarius. And Sage Parashara says that, well, if Saturn is placed in the Mula Trikona sign, which is Aquarius, and the Dasha or the main period of Saturn comes, then good effects are going to be felt. Also, Saturn, if it's placed in a friendly zodiac sign, then also good effects are going to be felt. Also, if it is in an exalted Navansha, and we have discussed about Navansha chart, I think, or maybe we'll have to go more into details on the divisional charts or the Varga charts. And Navansha is the D9 chart or a Varga chart, where Sage Parashara says if Saturn is placed as an exalted Navansha, means if it's sitting in its exalted Rashi in the Navansha chart, even then Saturn will give excellent results in its main period or Mahadasha. Another combination or another thing which Sage Parashara has mentioned, that in case Saturn is placed in the 3rd house or the 11th house, then also it will give excellent results. So these are the conditions what Sage Parashara has mentioned about Saturn's effects during its main period. And once again, Sage Parashara has mentioned that if Saturn is exalted, or it's in own Rashi or zodiac sign, or in its Mula Trikona sign, or in a friendly zodiac sign, or is sitting as an exalted Navansha, or it's sitting in the third house or the 11th house, Saturn will give good effects. And what kind of good effects will Saturn give? Sage Parashara has very clearly mentioned that the person with these combinations or these conditions where the placement of Saturn is, which we just discussed, in the Mahadasha of Saturn or Shani will have favors from the government. He will acquire name and fame. He will be successful in education. He will gain wealth. He will be like a chief of a place or in a very, very, very authoritative position, like a general in an army. He may acquire a kingdom. Of course, kingdoms don't make sense in today's world, day and age, but that's what Sage Parashara has mentioned thousands of years ago. And also, very interestingly, Sage Parashara has mentioned that he will have the blessings of the goddess Lakshmi. So here we have to very clearly understand that there is a connection of Saturn with Lakshmi. And I know that in scriptures it is mentioned that Lakshmi is directly related to the planet Venus. But here, since Sage Parashara has mentioned that there will be a blessing of Sage Lakshmi during the Mahadasha of Shani, under these conditions where the placement of Saturn is good in somebody's birth chart, we can very clearly infer that goddess Lakshmi has a great connection with Saturn or Shani. Another good effect which will be felt will be, of course, wealth and property, but then birth of children, which is also a very auspicious result of the Mahadasha or Saturn or Shani, or the Mahadasha of Shani or Saturn, in case these conditions which we just discussed are felt. Now, who will experience the bad effects of Saturn during the Mahadasha of Saturn? And Sage Parashara has mentioned and very clearly that in case Saturn or Shani is in the 12th house or the 6th house or the 8th house, there will be bad effects during its Mahadasha of Saturn. And I know that many of you who understand astrology and who have done astrology will ask me a question here that, well, a lot of astrologers have mentioned that Saturn gives good results in the 6th house. Well, no. You may have experienced that, and that's a subject of discussion as well. And I'm not totally denying the fact that Saturn may give good results in the 6th house, but Sage Parashara has very clearly mentioned that Saturn will not give good results in the 6th house in its Mahadasha. I'm sorry, Saturn will not give good results if it is placed in the 6th house in somebody's chart in the Mahadasha of Saturn. Sage Parashara has very clearly mentioned that. So this is, once again, I'll mention that it's a topic of discussion, and you can do some more research on that, because I'm aware that certain astrologers do have mentioned that Saturn gives good results in the 6th house, but Sage Parashara says no. In the 8th house, in the 6th house, and in the 12th house, these three Dusthana houses, Saturn, if it is placed in these three Dusthana houses, 6, 8, and 12, it will give bad effects in its Mahadasha or main period. Also, Sage Parashara has mentioned that in case it is debilitated, and when does Saturn gets debilitated? When it is sitting in the sign of Aries. So if Saturn is sitting in the sign of Aries and the Mahadasha of Saturn comes, then it will give bad effects. Or it is combust. And when does Saturn gets combust? When it's very close to the sun and it loses its power. So these are the 3, 4, 5, actually 5 conditions where Saturn will give bad results in its Mahadasha as per Sage Parashara. And once again, we are discussing what has been mentioned in the scriptures by the great sages. And what bad effects will be felt during the Mahadasha will be, well, there could be injuries from weapons. There could be problems with children and the wife. there could be a problem with the government. Here we see that if Saturn is placed very well, then there would be good results, or there'll be recognition by the government. But if Saturn is badly placed, then there'll be bad results or displeasure of the government, imprisonment and stuff like that. There could be also separation from the father. That is also a bad effect, which is mentioned very clearly by Sage Parashara, in case Saturn is badly placed, as per the conditions what he has mentioned. Now another thing which Sage Parashara has mentioned, that in case Saturn receives an aspect from a benefic, or it is associated with a benefic by any way. And the benefics, of course, natural benefics, we know are Jupiter, Venus. These are natural benefics. If there is a drishti or an aspect from a benefic, and of course the best benefic we consider is Jupiter, followed by Venus, so the effects will be good. And they could be acquisition of wealth and clothes and good things. And in case Saturn is placed in a Kendra house, which is the angle house, which is 1, 4, 7 and 10, even then Saturn will give good results in terms of acquisition of wealth. Or it is sitting in a trine house, which is a trikona house, which is 1, 5 and 9, even then Saturn will give good results. And very interestingly, Sage Parashara has mentioned another good condition where Saturn gives good results in its Mahadasha or main period is that if Saturn is sitting in the sign of Sagittarius or Pisces, even then Saturn will give good results in its Mahadasha. So these are the conditions of the effects as per Sage Parashara in the Mahadasha of Saturn. And another thing is, I'd like to mention here that there could be situations where, if, say for example, Saturn is in exaltation, which will give good results, and then of course if Saturn is sitting in the 8th house or the 12th house, which are bad houses, then what happens? Will it give good results or bad results? Because here Sage Parashara has mentioned that if it's exalted, it will give good results, but at the same time, if Saturn is sitting in the 8th house or the 12th house, or it's debilitated or combust, it will give bad effects. So how do you determine good or bad? Well, you will have to see whether the good effects will overpower the bad effects, or the bad effects are going to overpower the good effects. And you'll see based on the placement of the planets. And once you start doing chart readings, you will understand that, okay, well, this condition says that during the Mahadasha of Saturn, it'll have good results if the placement is here, but at the same time, it may not give that good of a result because there will be a negative effect because the placement of Saturn is here. So you'll have to determine based on which overpowers, the bad effect overpowers the good effects, or the good effects overpower the bad effects. So hopefully this video has been interesting for you, because Saturn, as we know, is a very, very krura graha, or the cruel of the cruelest, and Mahadasha can actually have a major impact on somebody's life. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll be discussing about another topic in our next video. Thank you.